All right, we are live in beautiful, sunny Florida. And today, fight fans, we're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 135, Gaethje versus Vick in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it feels good to be back after this long break, guys. Part of me feels like it was needed, but then the other part of me is like, where's my fucking fights, man? This doesn't feel like a normal weekend. I need my fights back, and we're back with a good card here, man. I'm excited for amazing main event between James Vick and Justin Gaethje. Of course, y'all know I love this card from a betting perspective. I do have 4 plays. I'm probably done, but don't count out a fifth. Um, it's been so long since the last UFC card, man. I haven't been able to tell you guys that I had a winning night on that last pay-per-view. TJ Dillashaw came through for me. Of course, Hanato Moicano came through for me. Welly Zhang came through for me. So for UFC 227, I had 4 units on TJ Dillashaw that cashed. I had 2.5 units on Moicano straight on the opener, minus 165. And then I had the big 6-unit parlay between Moicano and Welly Zhang. Cash that. My only losing play of the night was Jose Shorty Torres. He got smoked. Props to Alex Perez. So I lost on Shorty, but still a 5.58 unit night. So yeah, man, gonna try to keep that rolling. Of course, 4 plays for this card, and I'm just really excited to dig in and talk these fights with you guys, man. So I think we got everything out of the way. I want to thank all the new subscribers. I'm surprised I hit some new subscribers during these off weeks, especially with not putting up any kind of content whatsoever. So appreciate the new subscribers. Thank you guys very much. Keep it coming, man. We're almost at 700. We're building a pretty big following here, and I appreciate each and every single one of you. So yeah, man, we got 13 fights here. So let's start from number 1, which happens to be an intriguing one. We got Hani Yahya minus 125 taking on Luke Cool Hand Sanders plus 105. So interesting. The line has been like not necessarily bouncing back, but it keeps going up to like 130 Yahya, and then it gets bet back down to Pick'em, and then now it's back up to 125 Yahya. It keeps there's been a lot of money put on this fight because I've seen that line moving the past couple weeks now. I'm gonna go with Hani Yahya here. I feel like Luke Sanders probably, he's the younger guy. He's the more athletic guy by a lot. He's better on the feet. He's got more left in the career. He's got a higher ceiling than Hani Yahya. Just Luke Sanders doesn't make the best decisions. I mean, he's not that. I mean, if we're being honest, he's a good fighter, but he's not that great. And yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like at some point, so what it comes down to for me, I don't give Luke Sanders a high percentage for finish. So I do see this going at least 50. I see it going 15 minutes if Luke Sanders wins. I don't give him much of a chance for finish. So in a 15-minute fight, can I really trust Luke Sanders to go out there and execute a good 15-minute game plan without making a mistake, getting subbed, without getting taken down, getting subbed? Because let me tell you something, guys. When it hits that mat, if it hits the mat, it's a very big mismatch down there, and Hani Yahya will wrap him up very quickly and submit him. It's just a matter of whether or not Luke Sanders can go out there and execute a sharp 15-minute game plan, and he definitely could. I think the line is probably about right. I'd probably have Hani Yahya a little bit higher of a favorite, like minus 150, 160. But so if anything, the value is on Hani Yahya. Even in DraftKings, he has a higher percentage for a finish. So even as the favorite, I'd say I favor Hani Yahya from the betting lines and in DraftKings as well. But I'm gonna be staying away definitely from betting. I'll probably have him in a couple DK lineups. We'll see. Luke Sanders is I don't know. Something's up with that guy. He's got all the skills in the world, but something's not clicking. And against a dangerous dude like Hani Yahya, I don't think it's gonna go well for him. So official pick. I'll say Hani Yahya second round submission. So moving on to the next fight, man. I almost bet this one. We got Drew Dober minus 220 taking on John Tuck plus 180. I almost bet Drew Dober at minus 185, but decided not to, just simply because I don't want to bet on a fighter that has such a huge disadvantage in a particular area of the game, especially one as important as the grappling. I've been burned by grapplers very many times before, and that's the case here, man. Basically, this is a pure striker versus grappler matchup. John Tuck's got hands too. He's not a bad striker by any means, but I think Drew Dober is way sharper on the feet than Tuck. I think he throws a lot more than Tuck. I think he throws more efficiently. There's bigger power. If anyone's getting a knockout, it's gonna be Drew Dober. So I definitely favor Dober on the feet, but when it comes to the grappling, John Tuck is no slouch. He is an excellent jiu-jitsu grappler, and I don't know, man. I think he has a big advantage over Dober there, and I think we could see a situation where Dober's whooping his ass on the feet for 2.5 rounds. Somehow it ends up on the mat and Tuck taps him, or maybe Tuck just goes in there and tries to take him down immediately and submit him, because I mean that's how you beat Drew Dober. You grapple him most of the time. So I don't know. I like Drew Dober here. I do think he's going to get probably a decision win, but I wouldn't be that surprised by a knockout, but I don't know. I'm just passing based on the giant advantage John Tuck holds in the grappling department of this fight. So it's going to be a pass for me. I don't want to bet a guy like Drew Dober at 2-1. So yeah, pass for me. Probably passing from DK as well. So just a big pass on this fight. Official pick, I'll say 29-28 Drew Dober decision. So moving on to the next fight, man. This is my first play of the first play of the night. We got a women's flyweight bout here. I'm trying to get my damn laptop to switch over for me. Women's flyweight bout between Joanne Calderwood, who is a minus 175 favorite, taking on Kalindra Faria plus 155. I like Joanne Calderwood, man. So the one time we saw her at 125 pounds was against Valerie Letourneau, who, Valerie Letourneau, she's no longer in the UFC, but let's not act like Valerie Letourneau gave Joanna Jędrzejczyk a very hard 5 rounds. Valerie Letourneau is no slouch, and I'd probably pick her against Kalindra Faria as well. Kalindra Faria, oh man, so I did bet her against Jessica Eye, and she went out there and she rocked Jessica Eye, but she showed no takedown defense at all. Like, I'm talking like really bad. Like, Jessica Eye, she's known, 2 things Jessica Eye is known for. One, if there's any part of her skill set she's known for, it's probably her boxing. And 2, Jessica Eye is known for being a loser in the octagon. So the fact that a loser in the octagon who's mostly known for her stand-up was able to go out there and look like a cross between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tatiana Suarez. I mean, the fact that Kalindra Faria made Jessica Eye look that good of a grappler, that's just a huge red flag, man. And, Faria, she does have power in her hands, and she is a decent striker. And even coming into doing the proper research on this fight, I was kind of favoring Faria for a second there, just because I felt like Joanne Calderwood, she's been such a mentally, I don't want to say weak, but she's had problems in the past, and it's shown with some of her losses. And I feel like this might be a fight where Faria goes out there and outstrikes Calderwood. She's just throwing more, but I don't think that's going to be the case at all, man. I think Joanne Calderwood has things figured out. Everyone calls her a team hopper and everything, but I think she might have found the team. I know she's with John Wood now. She's with John Wood in more than one way, if you know what I mean. And I think it's going to be good for her, man. I think she's got a good mindset. She's in seriously good shape. The one time we saw her at 125, which definitely is her weight class, she looked amazing. So I think a 125 here against I'll say a jobber in Kalindra Faria, who doesn't belong in the UFC, in my opinion, who's just been embarrassed twice in her first 2 fights in the UFC. I got Joanne Calderwood here, man. I think she goes out there and puts on a hell of a performance. I don't know if she knocks this girl out, but she probably she probably hands it to her nice and good. So I'm going to go with Joanne Calderwood, 30-27 decision. I think she pieces Faria up badly. And the other thing I like about this so much, obviously we saw how bad Kalindra Faria's takedown defense was against Jessica Ai. I mean, if Jessica Ai can take you down, I'm pretty sure Joanne Calderwood can go out there and land a takedown or two if she really wants to. I guarantee you she could if she tried, with the gigantic lack of urgency and just technique from Faria when it comes to that department. So I love the spot on Joanne Calderwood here. I put 4 units on her, minus 156. And yeah, official predict 30-27 decision. So moving on to a fun one here, man. We got Mickey Gall minus 335 taking on George Sullivan plus 275. Man, so this is an interesting one, man. I see a lot of different opinions on Mickey Gall, whether or not he's going to even be in the UFC in a year or two now. Some people saying he just absolutely doesn't belong. He was given the CM Punk and Michael Jackson fights. He's the luckiest guy in the world. Yada, yada, yada. He's 4-1. He's not UFC ready. I've heard it all, man, but so there are some truths to some of the Mickey Gall doubters. Like, of course, the guy is very green. I mean, you'd expect a guy to be 4-1 in pro MMA to be green, especially since 2 of those fights, CM Punk and Mike Jackson, those aren't real fights. Let's be honest, but still, let's take a look at what Mickey Gall did to Sage Northcutt there, man. I mean, he completely whooped Sage Northcutt's ass, and that's another thing. I see people saying no, he didn't. I've heard some people call that fight a fluke. I completely disagree with that. I thought Mickey Gall had control of that fight from beginning to end. I thought he completely whooped on Sage Northcutt, and say what you want about Sage Northcutt. Sage Northcutt is 11-2 in MMA, 6-2 in the UFC. You can't show me a whole lot of guys that are 6-2 in the UFC right now. And not only that, Sage Northcutt would absolutely come out here and beat George Sullivan's ass as well. So let's talk about George Sullivan. George Sullivan, if we want to be honest here, who was his last win and when was it? You got to go all the way back to July 2015, over 3 years ago, to Dominic Waiters, who Dominic Waiters is 10-6. Dominic Waiters doesn't do anything particular well. He's not in the UFC anymore, and rightfully so. Mickey Gall would beat Dominic Waiters' ass as well, man. So honestly, in not only that, it's just the we don't have the whole layoff thing here like we did with Nico Price. I faded George Sullivan last time with Nico Price, if you didn't know. So yeah, Nico Price went out there and smoked George Sullivan. We don't have the layoff problem anymore, but we do have the fact that the guy is in his late 30s. His cardio gets worse every fight. His chin gets worse every fight. This isn't a 37-year-old who looks better every single fight like Yoel Romero. This is a USADA victim who's about to hit age 40, who hasn't gotten a win in over 3 years. And if we're being honest, he's being set up to lose here. UFC wants to push Mickey Gall, so I mean the UFC knows what they're doing here. They're setting Mickey Gall up. I compared this spot to when they gave Sage Northcutt Francisco Trevino. I kind of rate George Sullivan and Francisco Trevino around the same. I'd probably pick George. I mean, they're not even in the same weight class, but I mean they're around the same level. I think George Sullivan's a little bit better, but I like to compare that. Either way, man, I think and you look at George Sullivan's losses, most of them are by submission, and that's Mickey Gall's strength. He's a submission grappler. And not only that, man, George Sullivan's going out there and getting submitted by strikers. George Sullivan is Tim Means' only UFC submission victory. So, I mean, obviously there's a lack of submission defense from the guy, along with all those other things I just mentioned. So I think this is a perfect spot for Mickey Gall to get a W here. And I think he has a long way to go before he starts fighting top 20, even top 30 guys. I mean, we saw what happened against Randy Brown, but this isn't Randy Brown. George Sullivan is he's on the way out, and he won't be in the UFC probably won't be in the UFC in a year from now. So I got Mickey Gall. I think he comes out here and takes down George Sullivan and subs him relatively easy, man. So I'll say Mickey Gall first round submission. Of course, I'm going to have a lot of him on DK, especially since he's a lot cheaper than Barberena, Anders, even Worley Alvez. He's cheaper than. So he's cheaper than all those guys, and he's probably going to go out there and get a submission win. And when it comes to the betting line, obviously he's a big favorite, but I took 3 units on Mickey Gall wins in the distance just because I feel like if he wins this fight, it's probably gonna be nice, quick, and early. I don't see George Sullivan lasting too long. So official pick, I'll say Mickey Gall first round submission. A knockout wouldn't surprise me. George Sullivan's chin is a little weak. He also gasses out, so I mean I could see like a TKO in the 3rd round for Mickey Gall just based on George Sullivan's inability to fight back just based on how tired he is. Basically, man, I just think a lot of people are overlooking Mickey Gall just because he was that guy that got the CM Punk fight. So I don't know. I got Mickey here, and I think he's rightfully a big favorite. So moving on to the next fight, man, we got Andrew Sanchez minus 115 taking on Marcus Maluca Perez minus 105. Interesting that Andrew Sanchez is now the favorite because I think Perez opened a decent size, like 150 or something. And I do fave Marcus Perez here. So, and Marcus Perez actually is plus money on quite a bit of the books I see. So, I mean, technically this is an underdog pick. I'm going to go with the underdog pick. Marcus Perez here. Andrew Sanchez, man, I mean, what can you say about the guy? If you go out there and get finished by Ryan James, I don't know how much business you have in the UFC because I'll tell you, Ryan James doesn't have much business in the UFC. And I know you can say, oh, he was destroying James and gassed out. Yeah, but you lost to Ryan James. So, I mean, basically what I see here, definitely Andrew Sanchez is probably going to go out here, try to get some takedowns, stall the guy out, hold on to him, work some ground and pound. But I think Marcus Perez is going to be able to stuff the takedowns. I've seen excellent takedown defense from him in the past, and against high-level competition like Ian Heinisch, who we just saw on Contender Series. So, I don't know. I've been moderately impressed with what I've seen from Marcus Perez. I bet him big last fight against James Bogdanovich, but this isn't James Bogdanovich anymore. This is Andrew Sanchez. And Andrew Sanchez, he has a lot of downfalls for sure. I mean, especially the cardio, especially the chin, even the decision making. I mean, I've seen him make questionable decisions in fights before. Like, I don't know. I got Marcus Perez here, man. I feel like at some point, as soon as Andrew Sanchez starts to get a little tired, he'll be able to put it on him with strikes. Or maybe he'll get a takedown of his own. Maybe he'll reverse a position on the ground and get a submission. So I got Marcus Perez via finish, man. And I'll say it happens in the 2nd or 3rd round, probably 3rd round. So if you're one of those round 3 prop guys, I say go with Marcus Perez. So yeah, that'll be my official prediction. I'll say Marcus Perez via 3rd round submission. Man, my laptop is just freaking out on me today. All right, so moving on to the next fight, we got James Krause plus 315 taking on Worley Alvez minus 380. About a week ago, I was thinking maybe James Krause could be live in this fight. Maybe he could get Worley Alvez to gas out when he could sub him late, but I don't see that happening. I think Worley Alvez has this fight in the bag all day, man, and there might even be value at the current minus 380, in my opinion. I think he comes out here and smokes Krause on the feet. And basically, I mean, I kind of don't see Krause surviving that first round. And that's his chance to win. He's definitely got to survive the first round. But I think a fresh first round Worley can put it on Krause, and he'll be fresh enough to be able to stuff the takedowns, and I don't see Krause surviving Worley for 5 minutes. I think this is actually a pretty big mismatch. and it's crazy. Minus 380, I still see value, but yeah, I got Worley Alvez here. I just don't think James Krause survives the initial attack. I think James Krause is only a couple fights away from retirement, could even be this one. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the younger guy. I'm gonna go with the guy with a way bigger ceiling and no surprises. I'm gonna pick the minus 400 favorite via first round knockout, and it's crazy. I'm picking all these big favorites. It makes DraftKings so damn tough for this week. I just don't really know which way to go. I wish I could have all these guys like Anders and Alvez, Mickey Gall, Barberina. I wish I could have them all in my lineup, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Worley Alvez first round knockout. I think I might have skipped a fight. Yeah, look at me. I'm skipping fights over here. So we got Yuri Alcantara plus 190 taking on Corey Sandhagen minus 230. If you're hearing Yuri Alcantara and minus 190 and you're surprised, well, it was actually like plus 250, and a lot of money has came in on Yuri Alcantara. And I still think it's pretty off, man. I don't think Yuri Alcantara should be this big of an underdog. Now, I do think Corey Sandhagen wins this fight, but I don't know. What's up with the line, man? I don't get it at all. Sandhagen should be like minus 150. Obviously, Yuri is 38, 39 years old. Obviously, he's getting pretty close to the end, but the guy still wins fights. The guy is still super dangerous. One of the last things to go, of course, is power, and that's how Yuri Alcantara has been winning fights. You see the submission win over Brad Pickett, but if you actually don't go and watch tape, you'd see he knocked the hell out of he pretty much flash knockout Brad Pickett there. He dropped him bad, then submitted him, and then he knocked out Joe Soto. So, I mean, for when it comes to bantamweight, Yuri Alcantara probably has some of the most underrated power. He could definitely test that chin of Sandhagen if Sandhagen isn't careful, if he comes in with a little overconfidence here. And not only that, man, I mean, and it's funny because I've been bad-mouthing Yuri the last few fights because I've actually faded him the last few fights, but I'm not going to be doing it here just because the lines are crazy and I don't trust Corey that much. But yeah, all these things like Yuri, I did say I think he got his life changed by Luke Sanders, even though he won that fight. And he probably did get his life changed in that fight because he really hasn't looked the same. But, I mean, he got his ass beat by Luke Sanders and still won the fight with a knee bar, leg lock, whatever it was. So the fact that he can still go out there and get his ass beat and still come from behind and get a victory, I mean, that might just be it, man. I mean, maybe that's what Yuri needs to do. He needs to, I don't want to say take the beating and then pull something off. We don't want to do that, but I don't know. I give Yuri a much better chance than plus 190 is pretty much what I'm getting at here. I feel like he could just pull something off. I mean, he's an experienced vet. I mean, how many fights does the guy have? He has probably got like 50 fights. So I got Yuri Alcantara, and I'll say he do I have Yuri Alcantara? I don't want to pick an underdog and then not bet it. Yeah, I gotta go with Corey Sandhagen. I'll say split decision, but minus 230. That's crazy to me. I don't know. I almost bet Yuri when the price was a lot better than this, but since it's dropped, I'm officially passing. But so yeah, I'll just go Sandhagen. I'll say split decision. Moving on to the next one here. What's going to be the next one? It's going to be Eric Anders, the biggest favorite of the card, minus 1,020. Minus 1020. The biggest line I see on him is I see minus 1,200 on him in one book. The biggest line I see on Tim Williams is plus 714. So crazy odds, but it's probably rightfully so. Eric and this is the start of the main card, by the way. Eric Anders is serious. I mean, we're talking former football player, serious athlete. He's went in there and he just took his first L against Lyoto Machida, so he got that out of the way. He got 5-round experience with an absolute legend. He's been smashing fools before that, and I think that's what he does here. He probably comes out and smashes a fool. Tim Williams, really, his only path to victory here is a fluke submission. He's a decent grappler. He's got to find a way to get it down to the ground somehow. He might do it. I'd probably give Tim Williams a better chance than a couple other of the guys on this card. Like, I'd probably give Tim Williams a better chance than Ellenberger and who were we just fucking talking about? James Krause. I'd probably give Tim Williams a better chance than James Krause and Barberina, honestly, but Eric Anders should come out here and take care of business. So I'll go with him via first round knockout. Not much to talk about in this one. But I am passing there. So moving on to the next fight, man, we got an amazing flyweight matchup that I almost bet but decided to pass on, even though the line still keeps getting better. We got Davison Figueiredo minus 160 taking on John Moraga plus 140. I got this is such a tough pick. There's some tough ass fucking fights on this card to pick, man, especially that co-main event too, but I don't know, man. I'm going to go with John Moraga. I'm not going to bet it. So don't tell me if you're picking an underdog, why don't you go bet him? I'm not going to bet John Moraga, but I am going to pick him, and I am going to put a lot of him in DraftKings. So I don't know. Basically, I feel like we just saw John Moraga give a 14-0 Russian his first loss. So I feel like he definitely has a lot left in his career. He's not done by any means. I know he lost 3 fights in a row not too long ago, but I'm not even going to tell you guys the list of who he's losing to. He's losing to serious guys. Davison Figueiredo, I don't think he's that proven yet. I mean, he hasn't beaten anyone quite at the level of a John Moraga. And Davison, he's big for the division. He puts on a big, a fast pace, crazy pace. He gets wild, and that's kind of where I think his downfall might be in this fight. John Moraga with that experience, I feel like he's got a nasty guillotine. He's got serious power for the flyweight division. I just wouldn't be surprised if they got caught up in a wild brawl in the feet and Moraga landed a big shot, knocked him out. And I wouldn't be surprised if they got scrambly on the mat and John Moraga caught him in a nice guillotine, because he does have a nasty guillotine. So I don't know. Davison has the higher ceiling. He has more left in his career. He's the younger guy. Yeah, he's on the way up, yada yada. So I mean, I get the angle, and that's why I'm not betting Moraga here. But I think John Moraga is about to hand out another first loss, so I'm going to go with him, and I'll have a decent amount of him on DraftKings, because not only do I think he has a great chance to get this upset, I think he has a great chance to get a finish here. So he's actually probably my favorite underdog play on DraftKings, if we're being honest. So yeah, I'm going to go with John Moraga. I'll say second round guillotine, man. Second round guillotine for John Moraga. Moving on to the next one, man. We got Brian Barberena minus 485 taking on Jake Ellenberger plus 385. I'd talk about Jake Ellenberger here, but it'd probably just get me a little depressed. So I'm just going to leave it at this. The guy's done. Brian Barberena is more than solid enough guy to trust in this spot. And I'm not even going to say he's rightfully minus 485, because he should probably rightfully be minus 1,000. I feel like he should have Anders' line, and then Anders should be like around his line, like minus 500. But I know the last thing to go in fighters is power. I mentioned that earlier in this video. Jake Ellenberger packs a serious punch and everything, but this isn't Matt Brown. He's not going to go out here and body kick Brian Barberena. He's not going to go out here and drop him in the first 2 seconds. Brian Barberena is probably going to eat a couple good shots at some point, but that dude is tough. He's a serious workman, and I say Brian Barberena probably gets the highest score out of anybody on DraftKings this week, because I feel like Anders can come out here and just get a one-punch KO in like 20 seconds, which would be like 100 points. I feel like Brian Barberena will beat Jake Ellenberger's ass for a couple minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes, and then finally get the knockout at the end of the first round. So I don't know. I feel like Brian Barberena, and same for Worley Alvez. So honestly, I would definitely prefer Worley Alvez and Brian Barberena over Eric Anders and DraftKings all day. But yeah, so that's how I see it going down. I see Brian Barberena maybe eating a shot or two, but coming in there, just putting a pace on Jake that Jake just can't handle at this point, and he'll probably get his toe stuck in the cage again and quit. So I got Brian Barberena first round knockout. It's just a matter of a guy. I don't want to say on his way up because Barberena has been around for a while, but a solid top 25 guy versus a guy who would maybe win 1 or 2 fights in the UFC, like against he could probably beat like a Diego Sanchez, maybe even a George Sullivan. But no, Brian Barberena's serious, and he's gonna whoop Jake Ellenberger's ass here. So I got first round KO Barberena, and I do have 3 units on him. I put him in a parlay with Levi Malz, who fought in LFA a couple weeks ago, and Levi got the W. So I now pretty much have 3 units on Brian Barberena at -151. So yeah, I got 3 units on Barberena here in a already halfway cashed parlay. So looking good. So I basically got 3 units on Barberena -151. I like it a lot. So moving on to the next fight, man, we got Angela Hill -135 taking on Courtney Casey +115. I don't feel like talking about this one too much, if we're going to be honest. I kind of feel like it's just going to be a razor close split decision, and I'll lean with Angela Hill just because Courtney Casey is just, I mean, go look at her record on fights that actually go to the scorecards. Go look at her record there. She's a habitual loser. She makes gigantic mistakes. Angela Hill, I think she's just a little bit sharper. And probably outstrikes Courtney Casey here. But the thing is, Angela Hill, she has improved the takedown defense, but I'm not convinced that her submission defense has improved a lot. And Courtney Casey can go out there and grapple. I mean, we saw her submit Randa Marcos. So I'd be very careful betting Angela Hill here. I think this is a clear pass. And I'd also be very careful taking the over or the fight goes the distance, just because I feel like Casey does have good submission skills and Angela Hill does have a lack of submission defense. So I could see a Courtney Casey submission here, but I'm going to go with the Angela Hill split decision. And completely passing on this fight altogether, DraftKings betting. So moving on to the co-main event, and there has been some serious line movement. We got Michael Johnson -115 taking on Andre Fili -105. This is, again, I think I said it earlier. I think this is the hardest fight on the card to pick, and the odds definitely indicate that. And I'm seeing pick 'em on a lot of these books. You can get Andre Fili +100 in a couple places. Apparently you can get Michael Johnson +130 on one book, but yeah, I don't know which way to go here, guys. I'm just gonna talk about the fight and then I'll give my pick at the end because I actually don't have a pick right now, honestly. So Michael Johnson, this is his second fight at featherweight. He lost to Elkins last time out, so a step down. This is not an Elkins level guy. Andre Fili does not have the heart, cardio, chin that a Darren Elkins does. And then Michael Johnson, on the other hand, though, Michael Johnson, I don't even want to talk about Michael Johnson just because how many times the guy let me down. I mean, I can't even talk about the Gaethje fight. I don't believe I bet him versus I bet the Michael Johnson Darren Elkins fight doesn't go to decision. That's what I bet there, so that cashed. But I don't know. I mean, my gut tells me Michael Johnson comes out here and flatlines Andre Fili dead, but that's what my gut tells me, but my brain tells me that Michael Johnson is going to come out here and pull off another quit job and get his ass beat. So I don't really know. I can't really pinpoint what's going to happen here, man. So I'm going to go with Andre Fili, though. I think Andre Fili comes out here, implements a wrestling-based game plan, and tries to get Michael Johnson to quit it out, and it could definitely happen. I don't think Andre Fili is about to come out here and Khabib the guy by any means, but I don't know. I'll go with Fili. I really have no idea what's going to happen here, guys. I'm interested at the doesn't go the distance line, though, now. I haven't looked at it in a couple days. It's not going to pop open for me. All right, doesn't go to decision, plus 110. I think there's probably value in that, so I'll leave it at that. I think there's value and doesn't go to decision. No fucking idea who wins. I'll lean Feely. So moving on to the main event of the evening, we got James Vick minus 155 taking on Justin Gaethje plus 135. Man, this is a really, really good fight. It should be fireworks on paper. But I think it has the potential to not be fireworks. I think this has potential to end very quickly. Let me look at the doesn't go the decision on here. It's minus 425. There might even be a little value in that, honestly. I don't see this fight going 5 rounds, but yeah, this is my fourth and final play of the night. I have a 5-unit max bet on James Vick. I don't think Justin Gaethje, of course, is. So let's talk about his 3 fights in the UFC. He came in first fight, beat Michael Johnson in an absolute war. He got rocked all over the place. He almost lost himself. A different referee might have even stopped that fight. So he went out there and got the W over Michael Johnson. Props to him. Took a lot of damage in that fight, though. Next fight, he comes out against Eddie Alvarez. Where's the Eddie Alvarez fight second? I want to say it was Gaethje Alvarez after the Michael Johnson fight, and then it was Gaethje Poirier. How do I not know this? I'm slacking so bad, guys. I want to say it was the Eddie Alvarez fight, though. Yeah, it was. It was Eddie, then Dustin. So he came out against Eddie Alvarez, took his first loss against a guy who, I mean, Eddie Alvarez is a former champion, all that, but Eddie Alvarez has passed his prime for sure. I think we can all agree on that. He's on the tail end. I don't want to say the guy only has a couple fights left, but we're talking about a fighter way past his prime. And Eddie Alvarez put a lot of damage on Gaethje, knocked him out, gave him his first loss. Then Gaethje came right back out against Dustin Poirier, a guy who is in his prime, and Dustin Poirier gave him a lot of damage, knocked him out. So all 3 fights, Gaethje's been taking a lot of damage. I mean, it's pretty common knowledge that a guy who comes out there and fights like that and takes that kind of damage is not going to last long at all. So now he's coming out against James Vick, who, and before I get into that, Justin Gaethje lost those fights to Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. Those were his kind of fights. They gave Justin Gaethje what he wanted. They gave Justin Gaethje a brawl, and that's kind of their style too. Poirier and Alvarez like to brawl as well, but that's not all they do. That's all Justin Gaethje does. Poirier and Eddie Alvarez could have gone with different game plans and could have won that way, but they brawled with the guy and they won a brawl against Justin Gaethje. So now against Vick, Vick is not known as a brawler, so it's going to be interesting if they get into a brawl. How is that going to go for Vick? We saw Vick get knocked out once against Beneil Dariush, but if we're being honest, I think Beneil Dariush, A, has a little bit more power than Justin Gaethje, and 2, I think he has the crisper striking. I think he is a lot better striking than Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is just, honestly, this is what Justin Gaethje is. He's a wrestler who doesn't use his wrestling, who has good leg kicks, who throws wild and can get away with throwing wild because he has such a good chin. But the truth in the matter is that chin is not going to last forever, and against a very, very serious top 10 guy in James Vick, who's been going out there and destroying people. I mean, I'm still amazed by that Joe Duffy knockout, and I bet Vick there against Joe Duffy. I'm still amazed by that, James, because you look at Vick and he's tall as shit for the division. The guy's 6'3", and you don't see like a whole lot of mass in the arm, so you wouldn't think the guy has a lot of power. But when he hit Joe Duffy with that uppercut, I mean, James Vick can pack a fucking punch, man. And I think a lot of people basically see this as James Vick isn't going to be able to knock out Gaethje. He's probably got to win a decision. And that gives Gaethje a lot of chances to go out there, get wild, and get a knockout of his own. But I think James Vick can absolutely knock out Justin Gaethje here, and I think that's definitely what's going to happen. I think he's just going to be throwing a lot more. He's so much more tools in the feet. Justin Gaethje is going to be throwing nothing but overhands, while Vick is going to be throwing punches, elbows, kicks, knees. I mean, Vick's going to be all over him from the start, man. I think this is a mismatch in my opinion. Justin Gaethje, I'm sorry, I kind of don't think he's a top 15 fighter. James Vick is a guy on his way up to the top 5. There's levels to this game, and I got James Vick. I think he knocks Justin Gaethje out, I'll say in the second round. So, yeah, I got 5 units on James Vick. Max bet minus 142. So, let's go, guys. That's going to be it, man. So just to go through my 4 plays one more time, I have the 5-unit max bet on James Vick at minus 142. I have 3 units on Brian Barberina to finish off a minus 151 parlay. I have 4 units on Joanne Calderwood minus 1, and I have 3 units on Mickey Gall wins in the distance at minus 145. So that's going to be it for me, guys. I appreciate you watching. I got to get ready for work. I'm probably going to be late, but is what it is. I'm super excited for the fights this weekend. Hit the like button. It takes like 2 seconds. Subscribe to the channel. Comment below. I want to know who all you guys are betting on this card. So it's going to be it for me. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. Enjoy the fights this weekend.